Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. I thought I'd just do one. I've not done one for a while, but I just wanted to give you my experience selling a car, my Ford Fiesta 2013 on a company called Motorway. It's advertised a lot. It's like an app you go on, you submit pictures. I had lots of issues trying to resubmit the same pictures over and over again, and even had an argument with a rep on the phone. But in all, they were decent people to talk to. I can't really fault the advisors as such. They were pleasant enough to deal with. Anyway, once I eventually got the car listed, they have dealers, basically 7,500 dealers on their system who bid, very much like an auction or eBay, and basically the highest bidder wins. So I sold it for £2,912. So they said, can we come round very quickly? Great stuff. I was off on the Monday, they came round that day, checked the car over, and that's where it sort of went downhill. They started trying to knock me down on all sorts of things. Now, I did take pictures of the various scratches that were on there, so obviously they would have known about those. They did find a dent in the floor in the passenger door panel, which, you know, I thought fair enough. I'll take that on board, and maybe I'll reduce the price a little bit for that. Then they started talking about all sorts of things, such as, you know, the clutch, has it been replaced ever? And then they started saying the brakes are really soft. Well, the brakes have been replaced about less than 6 months ago by a guy I know, because I work for a bus company. I know lots of engineers, you see, who can do stuff for me. And he did that for 50 quid, a reasonable price. And obviously I went to one of these parts places and got some new brakes. You know, they were half decent brakes that were put on. They were not lowest budget ones or anything like that. Obviously, he talked about rust in the engine bay. Well, that's something to be expected with a car from 2013. So we're talking a car that's like 12 years old. And I just felt they were really come here to rip me off, if I'm honest with you. That's how I felt it was. I have to use the word allegedly, just to cover myself. But I felt like I was they were trying to con me, if I'm honest with you. Allegedly. So what they offered me was £2,000. So they offered a bid of £2,912, and all of a sudden they've offered £2,000. And then we went on a test drive, and the guy drove around like a bloody lunatic. I won't lie to you. The company that came round was called Globel Automobiles from Blackburn. He drove up the hill like he was Nigel Mansell. I could understand him testing the brakes a little bit, but then he started getting his phone out while driving. Mate, that's 6 points and a £200 fine if you get caught. And I was a bit concerned about the way he was driving. You know, I thought this guy's going to have an accident the way he's driving. Anyway, we went up to the top of the hill, turned around a little bit, came back, and he parked up. Then he offered me a price of £2,000, and I was pretty much pissed off with that. I thought, are you taking the piss? The car is certainly worth a lot more than that. Fortunately, my dad's a bit of an engineer. He used to be, I think, a plant mechanic, knows a little bit about cars and stuff like that in terms of repairs. And then my dad just turned around to him and said, listen, that's too low, mate, 2,600 and that's it, you can take it or leave it. So then basically he's gone from 2,000 to 2,600, even though he made a provisional bid of £2,912. I just felt the guy was trying to try a fast one, if I'm honest with you, when he offered me £2,000. I'm not mechanically minded, but my dad is. So he basically set the guy right and said, hang on a minute. But it didn't stop there. Basically, you have a V5 document that you're supposed to fill in, both parties fill in, and half of that gets given to the seller, and the other half is taken away by the dealer, basically, or a slip is given to the new purchaser, and then I would send documentation off to the DVLA. Anyway, the guy left pretty quickly with the car. he came with another person that gave him a lift from the train station. The guy that picked him up seemed all right to me and quite pleasant. No issues there. But obviously this Asian guy that turned up, I wasn't too happy with him, if I'm honest with you. He just seemed quite aggressive, if I'm honest with you. And he took the V5 document with him before I got a chance to say, hang on a minute, I need that. So I had to ring the DVLA, make them aware of what happened, that I haven't got the vehicle. And about a week later, I got a cheque from the DVLA for the road tax. Not much, I think it was £14 and something changed, not much. So obviously I got a new vehicle now, which the road tax is £200, significantly more, even though the engine's smaller. But I just wanted to do a quick video to tell you about my experience there. It was a bit of a nightmare dealing with motorway, if I'm honest with you. Don't get me wrong, the advisors were really nice and pleasant, and when I had made them aware of what happened, especially with the, you know, the test drive being the way it was and the guy getting his phone out, they were quite concerned and they wanted to escalate it to the escalation department. But it does seem to me, and it's not just coming from me, this, other videos I've seen, other people have put comments on Trustpilot and that sort of thing, have suggested that these dealers, when they turn up, literally disregard what they bid and try and get it a lot lower than what they originally bidded. And the way I see it is, it's an auction. When you go to an auction and you bid a price, you can't suddenly say, right, something on that car I don't quite like, so I'm not going to pay what I bid. I'm sorry, it's an auction. You bid for that amount. It's like me going on eBay. I can't just bid £1,000 on a new camera and then when the camera turns up said, it's not quite in the condition I thought it was going to be in, even though I've seen the pictures and the description, and then sort of back out on it. Now, I do fully appreciate there was a dent on the door panel that I didn't mention, you know, and I could understand being knocked down a little bit for that. But when they started talking about the clutch, rust in the engine bay, driving it around like a maniac, braking really hard and saying the brakes were soft. Well, I'd not used the car for a couple of weeks, but the car was in decent nick, if I'm honest with you, because I was using it until like 2 weeks ago before I got the new car, you know. So what I've got now, if you're wondering, I've got a ST line ecoboost 1 litre. I know what some of you guys are going to be saying, oh, ecoboost, ecoboom engine, be careful, blah blah blah. Yeah, there are issues with the EcoBoost engines, with the timing belt that's submerged in hot oil, which doesn't mix well and degrades the belt over a period of time, and it can in effect blow your engine up, because what happens is debris gets into the pan at the bottom, and there's like a mesh that collects stuff, and it can block the oil from getting into the pan and then getting around the engine. So that's something you need to be wary of. But however, because I got a 2020 version, basically after 2019 Ford put timing chains on instead of using timing belts. You still do have a belt in the oil pump. That's something to keep in mind, but it's a lot less of an issue than the main timing belt. However, it's advisable. I would suggest, if you've had your car and it's done about 60,000 miles, get the timing belt changed. There is a class action lawsuit in America on the timing belt issue, where some braking systems had failed, some accidents had happened. The Americans obviously are keen to take automotive companies to court, and obviously that was an issue where Ford was having to do free services, free engine replacements if the engine had blown up under certain circumstances. However, they've not addressed this issue in Europe. Now, what Ford is saying is because that is connected to automatics, not manuals. It's not as much of a big deal, but I disagree. I think it will affect all cars, not just automatics. So at the moment, Ford are not really addressing it in Europe. Now, there will be legal action eventually. However, Ford are sort of dragging their feet on this, and I would encourage Ford, if you watch this video, please address the EcoBoost engine issue. It's not a good idea to put timing belts in hot oil. I'll give you a good example. Have you ever watched, I think it's Clash of the Titans film, where there's 3 girls trapped in a copper statue that's been heated up, right, by fire, and it's a form of torture to kill the 3 women. I think one of them was an oracle, but her 3 servants was actually in this big statue getting boiled alive, basically. Well, that's basically what's happening to your timing belt in your engine. The hot oil is boiling your timing belt alive, as it were, and degrading it over a period of time. So that's the issue with the EcoBoost timing belt and oil pump belt as well issue. Hopefully, I'm hoping Ford will come to their senses and address this issue. Now, in 2020, they replaced the timing belt with a chain. So the best way of working out if your engine would be affected by the timing belt issue, or has it been replaced with a chain, is just look at your engine. If it has the turbo charger at the front of the engine where you can see it, you've got the rubber timing belt. However, if you've got a car that you can't see it at the front and it's positioned at the back of the engine, you've got the revised engine where Ford decided to put timing chain on. Now, this will not completely eliminate the issue having a timing chain on your vehicle, because basically you still have a belt on the oil pump, but it's a much smaller belt opposed to a big belt. You know, that's the timing chain belt. The timing belt, I mean, sorry, not the timing chain. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an overview of the EcoBoost issue there. So hopefully Ford will come to their senses and create a solution to the issue. So basically, if you've got between 60 and 80,000 miles on the clock and you believe you've got a belt, it might be a good idea to get it replaced. How much will that cost you? It will depend on who you go to. If you can find someone that can do it for £500, you've got it cheap. However, you can probably expect to pay between £500 and £1,500, maybe £2,000 if a dealer does it. But that's how much it'll probably cost to get that resolved. In the meantime, the best way of safeguarding your engine is to have regular services with clean oil. I think the main issue is when you've got contaminated oil and it gets into the belt, it degrades it a lot quicker than, say, clean oil does. So regular oil changes will help prolong the belt in your engine. Anyway, I just wanted to give you my experience of selling my old Ford Fiesta. I wasn't too happy with the insulting offer that they offered me. I still think £2,000 was taking the piss, if I'm honest with you. If I were them and I was offering something, I would have probably said, because of it might cost a couple £100, maybe to sort out the dent on the door panel, maybe £2,500 is what I would have offered straight off. I wouldn't have gone from £2,000. Now, I don't know if these guys worked for Globel Automobiles. They did say they did, but there is a possibility there is a third-party company out there who basically buys the cars for the dealers, goes and picks them up, and then tries to get the private seller to sell it for a really low price. And when they've done that, they split the difference between the dealer and themselves, It's like a commission type thing that they're getting by trying to get the private seller to sell it for a lot less. The way I'm seeing this, guys, is if you sell on one of these sites, you need to be really wary that they're gonna come and haggle, and if you don't like haggling, it might piss you off. So just wanted to give you my thoughts on what happened. Hopefully you find this video informative. I'll try and put some pictures up of the vehicle that I was selling, so you can make your own mind up if you think it was in a good condition. The original dealer, DM Keith, was offering me 2,000 trade to trade in that car. So obviously I got more than I would have got at the dealership. But I just didn't like the fact when they turned up and then looked at the car and then basically offered $2,000. I thought they were trying it on, if I'm honest with you. I wasn't happy. And then when he took the paperwork away, I texted him and asked him, can you send me the reference number so I can get my tax refund for the car road tax? He said, I'll get it to you in the morning. And then that were it. I've never heard anything since. I emailed the company, never got a reply. So if I were you, I wouldn't go anywhere near Globel Automobiles in Blackburn. If I was you, I wouldn't go near them. But that's up to you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and hopefully this rant was a bit informative. See you later. Bye bye.